Hello, ladies and gentlemen, this is Nori here. Welcome back. We are talking about gacha games today. It's a very personal take on gacha games and my experiences so far. So, you are seeing Euphoria's trailer play out because during my hiatus, when I was not uploading any videos, I had a great curiosity in wanting to check out what Euphorius was all about, which I did. And I was pleasantly surprised at finding out that I actually enjoyed the story. But having said that, it does have its fair share of criticisms that perhaps other content creators have pointed out, and very rightly so. But having said that, I enjoyed the story. I feel like the story was something that I needed from a long time. But it could also be that I was not in a very critical mindset when I was consuming the story. I was just there to enjoy myself. That's it. It was just pure enjoyment for myself. Otherwise, I generally look at stories through a very critical angle, but at this point, I was just like, I'm just going to enjoy myself. And I did. I enjoyed myself. I didn't have any like great big expectations. The only reason in any way that I had stopped playing Star Rail was because of the power creep that made it difficult for me to get new characters or beat the bosses. And farming the materials was also problematic for me. But I came back to enjoy the story, and I did. Granted, the first part was like way too long. I was just very immersed because of the atmosphere and stuff. Now, people might have criticisms about that as well, and surely they're all welcome to have their own criticisms. I would just say that I enjoyed what I enjoyed. That's it. As far as the power creep is concerned, I have just made peace with that. I know that, like Genshin, like any other game, the devs are not going to give you everything that you want, and you just enjoy what you enjoy. Of course, I will point out the issues as and when I find them, but I love the characters. I loved Mayday, I loved Finon, I loved Aglia. I really liked all of them. There was not a single point where I just like, oh wow, I hate this character, I hate that character. No. I enjoyed all the characters. So that's that about Honkai Star Rail. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Now, moving on to Wuthering Waves, I started playing Wuthering Waves 2 weeks or 3 weeks after it was released, so I was behind on the lore and story and the missions and stuff. But I played nonetheless. I enjoyed the combat. I thought the combat was very smooth, the MCA was very powerful, and all of that stuff. But at the same time, I also had like a lot of things going on, and this was very draining for me because I'm not a combat centric person, I'm not a combat heavy person, I'm also a casual gamer. So I took off from Wuthering Waves because, well, I thought when Scar is playable again, I'll come back. That was my idea. I'll come back when Scar is playable, but he wasn't. And Jinshi, I really wanted Jinshi. I really liked Jinshi. I liked her character. I liked her design, her costume, everything. But of course, there were rumors that Scar will be playable, like I said. And then I thought, okay, you know what? My map is still, like a huge chunk of my map is still locked away. I cannot get Jinshi's materials even if I wanted to. It would take a long time. I would have to finish the whole story and stuff. So I'll get to it at some other point. But I just got disinterested later on, and then I never went back to Wuthering Waves after that. I think the only time I came back was for Zhang Liao, because we were getting him for free, and his character design was absolutely peak. Like, look at this trailer. This trailer was so very impressive. I'd say that I was about as impressed as I was with Jinshi, and the fact that I think he's a 5-star as well. I think so, yeah. And I'm like, I'm not leaving that opportunity. So I just went. I worked really hard during the Moon Chase Festival. I'm like, don't give me anything else. Just give me Zhang Liao. And, well, I got Zhang Liao, and then I dipped from the game. But getting him was absolutely worth it. And, yeah, so cut to that, we move on from Zhang Liao to probably the most controversial part of this video, my opinions about Cantarella. Now, I heard so many rave reviews about the 2.2 story quest, the main story quest, which got me really curious, but there was so much of hype on Cantarella, and a lot of it was sexualization, blatant objectification of her entire character, that instead of how important she is to the plot, the only thing that's been floating around is her physical form, which is just unfortunate because now people are going to look back at the main story update and think about not her being the savior, not her being the MVP, but her with her jiggle physics. That's all. Like, it feels like whatever she's contributed to the story is somewhere, in the shadows catching dust. And the only thing that she'll be known for is her cleavage, which is then again unfortunate. But she was marketed for that very reason. The devs knew what they were doing. From the time of Dawn and Dinosaurs, the devs always know that, what sells, what demographic they should target, and they were targeting the male-centric demographic, which is why, well, Cantarella is what Cantarella is at this moment. Now, we could argue that Cantarella is not the first character to be so, heavily objectified or sexualized. The thing is, Kuro games I felt like were more neutral in that sense, but it doesn't seem so. Maybe they are moving towards catering their male demographic more. And honestly, like, whatever makes them money, makes them money. Like, I will not comment on that. All gacha games have done that. Raiden was also sexualized, and by Raiden I mean Raiden Shogun. Raiden Shogun of Genshin Impact was quite sexualized when she got released, but it didn't feel very awkward or uncomfortable as it does with Cantarella. When we think about Shangli, I think Shangli was also sexualized, I feel like, at the same level as Raiden Shogun was when Raiden Shogun was released. And the only character that I feel was portrayed well, in my opinion, was Jinshi. Jinshi was a very neutral portrayal, where not only did her character look great physically, but then there was more to her character than the outer appearance. Her combat abilities, her personality, her story, everything was more, beautiful. Like, it stood out. But with the way they handle Changli, I feel like Changli was the first step, and then they ended up taking it a notch with Camellia. She was also sexualized in a very weird, sad, chaotic way. And then they moved on from Camellia to Shorekeeper, I guess. And from Shorekeeper, they, I think, ended up with Cantarella. I don't remember who got released in the middle of the patches between Shorekeeper and Cantarella, but I feel like, and I'm talking about the female characters, I feel like Cantarella was taken a step up. And honestly, get that back, Kuro. Get it. Get that money, get that back, earn it, because you keep the players happy, so good for you. If the players don't have a problem, if the devs are making the players happy, then like, what else? I'm just one little voice that doesn't matter, and it's fine for me. I don't think that I'm right about things where I'm like, or I think that people should agree with me or anything like that at all. I'm simply just voicing out my personal takes on the kind of characters that I like, the characters kind of don't like, and why I want to watch, or why I want to play a video game, or why I don't want to play a video game, or just games in general. And those are just my thoughts. The Kuro games are great when in terms of like satisfying their player base. That is one thing that I feel like a lot of gacha games lack. So credit where is due. Kuro is an amazing company that takes care of its players. And if they want to satisfy a very specific demographic of their player base, so be it. Whatever makes them money, go get that back, Kuro. I said. I just wish that Kuro was a little more neutral in terms of their characters, because I don't want to play a game that is so heavily sexualized that it takes away from the story and the characterization. That being said, it's my job to want to, engage with a game that I like and disengage with a game that I don't like. And that's what I'm doing. I have various issues with various games, to be honest, but I recognize the fact that none of those issues are ever going to be addressed, and it's just my individual participation that matters. If I want, I will be there. If I don't want, I won't be there. That goes for any game. Like, it goes for Genshin, it goes for Honkai Star Rail, it goes for Wuthering Waves. I do hope that Scar is playable, because, like, what the heck, my account is just, gathering dust. Yeah, so here's hoping that Scar becomes playable at some point in time. I would love to play the game. As far as the story is concerned, I don't know if I want to play through the entirety of Rencita and get to 2.2, because I have a lot to complete. Or if I just want to go on YouTube and check the story out, maybe I'll do it. Who knows? Stay tuned. We have a lot to go through. But thanks for checking this video out, and yeah, stay tuned for more such videos. Thank you guys. Bye bye and take care. This is Nori signing off.